if this was a man, he'll be like, oh, I have a big job. I have, I have so many fans, blah, blah. And we don't. We just go, I've done what I've done. And I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing, but maybe sometimes we should be less afraid of taking up more space.
Sit still, look pretty.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Sit Still, Look Pretty. It's February, the month of love, so I know that situationships are all the rage right now. But for Sit Still, Look Pretty, we're going to talk about loving yourself, which I know we do quite often here. But today, we're going to take it one step further and talk about loving yourself enough to fit into more than just one mold. And that brings me to today's episode, which I very enthusiastically titled, so I'm not going to take any comments on how cheesy it sounds. It's called Legally Brown, the Symphony of Sangeeta. And yes, it's giving law, it's giving music, but most of all, it's giving range, which is something I think today's guest embodies to the core. You know, she's a lawyer by training, she's a musician by heart, and she's a familiar face and voice that we all know and love. So Sangeeta, welcome to the studio.
Thank you so much. That was such a lovely introduction. Oh my God, I feel like I don't know what to say. I'm kind of lost for words, but thank you. And I'm so happy to be here.
I'm going to jump right into our first question.
Absolutely. Shoot away.
Was law something that you chased after, or was it a parent's desire that you were following?
Good question. I think that it's a combination of both. I can't say that my parents made me. I wanted to as well. Initially, obviously, like you mentioned, right, there were always these standard doctor, engineer, lawyer things. So I ruled out doctor very early because I was so afraid of blood. I did consider being a chemical engineer or a petrochemicals engineer for some time because I wanted to be a woman in STEM. And the one thing that stopped me was my physics. I was extremely consistent. I kept failing. So that, that was, a decision that was made for me, which left me with law school. And, I don't regret it because I had the best time there. It was also a challenge. I wanted to make sure I got in. And once I did, I looked at myself and went like, okay, now you got to make this work.
Right.
So that was that.
I feel like I always had a dream, which is the reason why I titled this episode Legally Brown, was to go with, the infamous movie Legally Blonde.
Really? I couldn't tell. Wow.
I love the sarcasm. Yeah, guys, just in case you didn't know, yeah. But, when I watched it, I was like, damn, it would be so cool if I was a lawyer. I know that's not even close to being, how law looks like in real life. But yeah, I was like, damn, it'd be so cool. So I feel like I'm such a fan sitting in front of you who has attained that, such a boss.
Let's all flick our hair.
But in the midst of, chasing deadlines and doing case readings, you found yourself stepping on to a singing competition, if I'm not wrong.
That's right.
So how did music find its way to you, or were you always gonna have music be part of your life?
Music found me. That's right. My name is Sangeeta. It was all preordained. When my mother was expecting me, my father was hell-bent on having a baby girl. At that time, they didn't know. Nobody checked.
Yeah.
And he was so sure he was going to have a baby girl, and he was going to call her Sangeeta, and she was going to sing. My dad was a very good singer, by the way. He was an excellent singer, and he taught me. So music has always been a part of my life. We used to jam together a lot. And that's why I also, even though I wasn't on television during those awkward years I mentioned earlier, I was always performing. So I went for music lessons ever since I was a little kid. I was trained in Carnatic music. I performed a lot of Carnatic concerts. I also took part in every single secondary school, inter-school competition that there was. And it had always been a part of me. What got me to this competition in university? $10,000.
$10,000?
There was money, there were air tickets, the prizes. I mean,
Yeah, true.
even today, that's big money. Imagine way back in
wow.
1997 for an 18-year-old. A large part of it was the music as well. And just also a kind of an exploration into something new because I was Carnatically trained, but I always loved cinema music and Ilayaraja and A.R.
Yes.
Rahman. And television allowed me that portion of that exploration and I enjoyed it.
I will say, I think nowadays we very much live in a culture where hustle culture is almost glamorized, I would say. I think people almost expect you to have multiple fingers and multiple pies.
That's true.
But you chose a dual career at a time where I say it wasn't as advertised. Like, people weren't really...
I guess so. You're right. Yeah.
Right? People weren't really kind of preaching about being more than one thing. So why was it very important to you to kind of honor both of your callings?
Actually, I beg to differ, to be honest.
Okay.
Back in the day when I first started television, there were very few full-time artists, right? Everyone had a day job. And, so it was music or your arts or acting, whatever you did in media or in the arts was a passion project for many.
Right.
That's changed over time with social media. People can be influencers. People have more avenues now. And I'm so glad to see that because, you're not forced to be half-hearted about something or the other.
Yeah.
What I wanted to do was to enjoy my music, but at the same time, at a certain point in time in probably about second or third year in law school, there were music directors that came to my father and said, "Sir, urku anubunga sir, paaduvanga." And I was like, "Pa, urku pota, like I'll go and sing in the cinema." And but my dad was like, "Pesama padi."
Right.
So I was like, okay. And I guess I wouldn't call it a curse, but it's a double-edged sword, was that I was actually good at school. So I didn't have an excuse to say, education or the system wasn't for me and I needed to go and explore something else. And also the law was a sure thing.
Yeah.
Right? Whereas music was a gamble. So I was glad that I had the opportunity to do television and to perform and to, there were also other engagements for performances and at the same time pursue my studies and my career. The other thing that was also very good was that the firm, once I started working, each of the firms and the companies that I've worked at has always been very, supportive.
I mean, now I just saw Sangeeta being a part of Chinmai's set in Singapore recently. So you're a star. I think you've done it all now, right? You've shared the platform with incredible names. So I feel like what an honor.
It is
and
an absolute
it speaks
honor.
to your talent as well.
It is an absolute honor. I have come to a stage in my life where, we go through different stages. You're building your career, you have kids, there are all sorts of things. And I'm now, at a stage where I want to explore different options. And so any opportunities that come my way, I generally tend to say yes.
Yeah. Oh, and I'm glad you said yes to this one.
Precisely. This is another one, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's very exciting. But I have to say, when you look at, I've never done anything close to law, but even just picturing it in my head, it's the amount of work seems incredibly tough, incredibly extensive. And then you bring music into the picture because as expressive as it is, there is a lot of discipline and structure and practice that goes into it. So picturing trying to do both sounds incredibly amazing on the glamorized side of it, yes, but incredibly exhausting as well. So I'm curious to know, what was it like truly behind the scenes, trying to do both?
Add to that parenthood as well, right?
Yes.
So it was tough. You have to put in the hours on both sides because, law school was tough and then legal practice was tough. But when you really want to do something, you will make time for it. So there was also a time when there was a complete hiatus because I moved away from Singapore for a couple of years. But when I came back and the industry found out that, hey, she's back, and they called me again, that was very reassuring. And about, 25 plus years later, I'm still here. So I feel very grateful for that.
I also want to talk about maybe a specific moment that sticks out in your mind when I say, what's one moment that was really tough when we're talking about the idea of balancing all of these together?
Actually, there have been several difficult moments. One was definitely time, right? My career and my job and my family commitments, came first. Secondly, also, there was once I do remember having to speak to one of the producers saying, this is my passion. And if I don't enjoy it and if I'm not comfortable with it, then I shouldn't have to do it, right? There are many things in life where you feel like you need to make a sacrifice or you need to compromise. But if it's something that's supposed to bring you joy, then you shouldn't have to compromise. So having those conversations sometimes were hard, but I don't regret them.
It took me like a long time, or maybe I'm still learning that as well, because I feel like when you love something so much, it's very easy to kind of get overwhelmed or overconsumed by that one thing.
That's right.
And find yourself in a position going, oh my God, like this is getting too much for me, or I'm losing myself in this. So finding yourself at a spot where you're able to say, I love this so much and I want to continue loving it for a long time, so I should set my boundaries. I feel like that's such great advice.
To be honest, I didn't know the concept of boundaries when I was saying no or when I was doing this at the time. But on reflection now, you can, put the labels to it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it is important because very often one can feel pressured. And I do recall also feeling that pressure at time. Oh, என்னை கூப்பிடலையே அவங்கள கூப்பிட்டாங்க, நான் இந்த ஷோல இல்லையே அவங்க இருக்காங்க. But then you overcome that as well and you say, it's okay. What you've done, you had a good time. Yeah. And what you haven't done, you've done other things in that time. So, you just have to continue to count your blessings and practice gratitude.
When you look at it on paper, law and music couldn't be much further apart, because I think law is very objective, right? And music kind of thrives on being subjective. But I feel like when you really look deep into it, both need structure and both need soul at the end of the day. So was there a moment where one form bled into another aspect of your life? How do they both complement each other for you?
I think actually, I don't think law is just purely objective. It's objective in its time, but it's subjective depending on how you extend the timeline, right? What's right in one era will become irrelevant in another era.
Very
and
true.
It's all about subjectivity at the end of the day.
Context, right?
It's context,
Yeah.
And similarly, music is also about what feels good at a time or what feels appropriate, whether you're sad, whether you're emotional, whether you're, completely happy and excited, right? You express yourself in the music in this way, right? So they've always been a part of me, I guess. The law and a sense of justice, I think I probably had in me from a very young age, just like my music. So I don't know how to actually separate them. So how they come together is a question I can't quite answer because they're not apart.
Yeah, they're very innate in you. You are a household name in Vasantham. I got to know of you through Vasantham because of the angelic voice that you very much so embody. So it is no surprise that you were the first recipient of the Pradana Villa category that you won. Can you talk? I recall quite a while I was doing my research that you posted a video of you winning that award, and oh my God, it feels so like surreal, like just as like an audience kind of like watching you embody that moment. I think I can feel how much it means to you, like just through the video. So I'm very curious to hear from you directly now, sitting in front of me. What was that like?
To be honest, I was looking at my old self and going, damn, she had collagen.
So fair. So valid. I completely understand.
Oh man. No, it was a real honor. To be honest, at that time, I didn't think much of it. I never have thought much of it. Like when you called me about this as well, I've asked you, I've always taken what I've done as just, part and parcel of everyday life. Somebody calls me to sing, okay, we go sing. We learn a song, we go sing. We enjoy ourselves, we come back. We go to work. And I think that's just part of how I was brought up, because my mother was very instrumental in my life as well. I keep talking about my father, but my mother is a big influence, and she remains my pillar. Okay. So one of the things that that I've learned from her is that if you're going to do something, do it well. Otherwise, don't do it. Right? So I felt like, okay, I gave it my all, and I never expected that award, to be honest. I've never thought of myself as popular. I always thought of myself as the equivalent of the character actor. Give Sangeeta the difficult songs. I've never been one whom I saw as popular. I saw myself as adept and good at what I do, but not of mass appeal. I don't know. So when I got that award, it was a real surprise. And when I look back at it, and when they called me back, to talk about it 25 years later, I still felt very honored by it. And to be honest, I still don't think I've done anything terribly remarkable.
I feel like that's just a humble trait, Sangeeta.
I don't know about that. I just feel like if you're going to go do something, do it well, and then that's it,
Do you remember your parents' reaction to that?
Yeah. Unfortunately, my father was ill, so he couldn't come. But the cameras actually caught my mother in that video, and she was very proud. And I'm very touched by that till now, because my parents and my family don't make a big deal of anything that I do. And there have been times when I've asked my mother, it's like, other mothers are talking big about it. You don't, And she's like, oh, please, I don't have to.
I feel like brown parents are the best at humbling their children, But
keeping
I feel
it real.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sitting here and I'm like struggling just maintaining one job. No,
you're doing this. You're doing
true.
your job. You're living the duality as well. I think we don't give ourselves enough credit. I think one of the things that women do, which we need to probably stop, is not take credit where we can, and we kind of diminish our own achievements. If this was a man, he'll be like, oh, I have a big job. I have, I'm saying I have so many fans, blah, blah. And we don't. Yeah. We just go, I've done what I've done. And I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing, but maybe sometimes we should be less afraid of taking up more space.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very nicely put. Pradana Villa into the next question feels apt because, it is still around recognition and popularity in that sense, because I want to delve a bit into social media. I love doing this podcast. I feel like it comes from a place of like genuine passion, but if you see my Instagram, there's only podcast up because I find it such a struggle to share my personal life in a way, because I find social media quite pressurizing, because it has become such an integral part of your personal branding and your personal identity that I feel like there's like an immense amount of pressure on kind of chasing perfection, but like nobody really like speaks of it. It's almost like you should be perfect, but it should be effortless and all natural.
Yes. Yeah.
So everything that you put out there feels like it's under a lot of scrutiny.
Yes.
Because people just expect a certain version of you. Now, when I had a conversation with you, you spoke to me about how being authentic and being real more than perfect is very important to you. But what does it really mean to be real? Mm-hmm. And how do you stay real when there's so much of noise about being a certain way?
So I look at this as something that you have to take in absolute moderation. Instagram came about, and I got an Instagram account only because when my daughter turned 13, she asked for an Instagram account herself. So I said, hang on, let me get one, and then we'll see from there. So it actually started off as an exercise in teaching her internet literacy, who to accept requests from, how to, be savvy in your tech presence, right? And my account was completely private with 0 posts until maybe about 2 years ago when I found that, hey, why not? If I'm not, I have nothing to hide in that sense. And if I'm going to curate something for myself when I'm old, when I want to look back at my memories, this can be my platform. Also, I was running out of space on my Apple phone. So, you have to upload things and then delete it. How to stay authentic? I wouldn't say that I put up things that are sad or sorrowful. I'm not one of those that takes videos of myself crying and going, oh my God, I had a really hard day. There are those people, and if it works for them, then okay. But if I were to take a video of trying to lift weights and I couldn't, I will put it up on my story to say, today I couldn't do it. Maybe tomorrow I will, or maybe, in 3 months from now, I'll get there. I might put up a video saying, this dish didn't turn out the way I wanted it to turn out, So that's the part of me that's being authentic. The rest of it is, if you feel like the photo is nice, put it up. We'll only look this way once. We'll never look this way again when you grow older, right? So my one thing that I've also remembered is that, when I look back at old pictures, you thought you had all these flaws. But then as you grow older, you realize, hey, love yourself more. And if there's something I could tell my younger self is to love yourself more. And now I want to practice that as I can with myself today.
Yeah, that's very true. I feel like whenever I take a certain picture that I'm ready to post in that moment, I'm still thinking about, damn, I looked a little bit too big, or my hair isn't perfect or something. And then you look back at it a few years and you're like, you should have loved that version more, because now you're so much further from that. And it's not in the sense that, you're always going to be worse than you were before, but it is different. It
is different.
And yeah.
For me today, I feel like I'm the best version of myself, right? I am stronger, I am more independent, I'm possibly calmer, happier, and, why not embrace it all, right? Yeah. That isn't to say that it's not been a difficult journey. Yeah. It has. It's had its difficulties, it's had its challenges, but they all mold you into what you are today.
Right. So I want to talk about the fact that you've worn many hats. You're a lawyer, you're a musician, you're a partner, and you're a mother. And I have to say, I found this so adorable because while I was researching you, correct me if I'm wrong, but I found a Facebook post of a COVID cooking competition that your children took part in.
Oh wow, and you found that.
Yeah, I found that, and I saw that they won a really cute, a first place prize for a dish that they made.
Yeah,
and more than anything, I feel like that speaks to your parenting and the family that you're raising. The reason why I brought it up is because I feel like you've not only worn many hats, but I think you do it with a lot of grace. You do it well, and I find that very admirable. I want to ask you, is there one hat that perhaps contributes to your identity more than the other? And how have they shaped you into the woman you are today?
That's actually quite a loaded question. I'm going to add two more hats to that, and that is daughter and sibling.
True.
Right? So you grow up, and it's a tough one because, to be honest, I could be very negative about this in a sense because we are brought up to be so performative. And we are brought up, especially as brown girls, firstborn brown girls, as, we have to be the bastion of culture. We have to do things right. We didn't get the luxury of failure. And so you feel like the only way to do something is to do it right. So when I first started working, for example, I had to make sure that I was working super hard. When I had kids, I remember this Hillary Clinton quote that said, something to the effect of she was told not to put her family pictures in her office because that'll make her look too soft, And I remember this quote where someone told me, it's like, you have to work like you don't have kids and you have to parent like you don't have a job. Add to that today, you have to look like you have neither of those.
Very true.
Right?
Very true. Wow. Yes, that is very true.
These messages, we are conditioned with them, and they're always at the back of our mind, and they kind of dictate who you become. So when you say things like you do it all with grace, yeah, we try, but at the same time, we have to be kind to ourselves. And that's something that I have only in recent years allowed myself. I've allowed myself not to be the best mother at times. I've allowed myself not to be the kindest daughter. I've allowed myself, and this may be, controversial, to be the demanding spouse.
Yeah.
Right? And I think that is also a step in growth, and that helps us to be, better versions of ourselves and more authentic versions of ourselves to the people who matter. Yeah. Right? And when I say not to be the best version, it's to also to, not be afraid to speak, not be afraid to ask, and not be afraid to fail, to say, I can't do this. It's out of my league, So I've made various decisions that mold who I am today. I've taken career decisions to leave practice so that I could be there for my children. I have taken time out from my career so that I could be there for my family. Right? I took a few years out at different points to be there for my children, to follow my husband overseas. And now I take time for myself. So, I'm going to go, I've started since a couple of years ago, going on solo trips or going on fitness retreats so that I will give myself some time as well. And, my family has been so supportive of that. So that's something I'm very grateful for. I didn't really answer your question, though. How do you do it gracefully? You just do it. Whether it comes out gracefully or not, you just hope. I'm one of those that... sorry, I'm going to keep talking about this, right?
Go for it.
Because I'm one of those that felt like I needed to make all the birthday cakes. And there was one day when my husband said, mothers who buy birthday cakes are also loved. And that was dawning on me going I am stressing myself out to be a perfect everything when I should also just enjoy the moment and the time that I have. And so that's why my family, my husband, my mom, because I lost my father much earlier, and of course my brother and my whole family, they've been very, very instrumental in who I am today.
I think you did answer the question, because I really like the point on the fact that, yes, maybe your 100% at that moment is maybe just buying a cake rather than making
That's
it.
right.
And just because that's your 100% at that point doesn't mean that it's any less.
And also, but it's an opportunity as a communal activity, to put a meal out. So one thing that we've recently done is after my father-in-law passed away, we are now a nuclear family finally, after 21 years of marriage. My in-laws always lived with me, and we had a multi-generational family. We now no longer have a live-in helper.
Oh,
I know.
deliberate choice?
Deliberate choice, because we wanted to make sure that we could take care of ourselves and that, our kids learn how to be functioning human beings. So, you have to do your laundry, you have to clean the house, you have to cook the meals, you have to do the dishes. All this while, all of that got magically done by someone. So now is the time for, all of us to learn that we can be functioning human beings ourselves, fully functional.
And I feel like I can't vouch for it at a better time than now, where I feel like a lot of our jobs include kind of staring at a screen for hours.
Yes,
you're seated
that's
down
right.
for most of the day. And it's just such more than just kind of ensuring that your clothes are clean and you have food to eat. It's about stepping out, getting some fresh air, getting some movement.
Yeah.
And I completely agree.
It is very important, yeah.
But to wrap this up, I want to ask some fun questions.
Sure.
The first one being, at this moment in your life, if you could assign a certain soundtrack, a certain song for this era of Sangeeta, what would that song be and why?
Oh, wow. That's a tough one because I can never actually commit to a single song. And if anyone asks me what's my favorite song, I will never have one.
Yeah, I mean,
This era. Oh,
for
wow.
just this era. Maybe this, or maybe what you expect for the new year, if that's something that you'd prefer.
Oh, it'll definitely be something that's very hopeful. It'll definitely be something that's very upbeat and happy.
Yeah.
I didn't have one, but now that you ask me, I probably will say something very cliche because it's got the three elements of the loves of my life. It's A.R. Rahman, SPB, and Rajinikanth. So I'll probably say Oruvan Mudalali.
Oh my God. As someone who titled this episode Legally Brown, you should know that I love a cliche.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
this sounds absolutely perfect. Now, if you don't mind, could you give us a little preview? Because I feel like the listeners will come after me for inviting you here and not giving an opportunity for us to hear your beautiful voice.
Something that's always been close to my heart is my Carnatic music. And that's what I grew up with. That was my genesis. And this is a go-to for me always. Krishnani begane baro baro baro.
I'm such a fan, Sangeeta. I feel like I could sit and listen to you sing here all day. I feel like this podcast should have just been a concert.
The one thing I have to say, what you have inspired me to do today, here and now, is to actually make more music, take more time to record stuff at home. I have to say, my husband has bought me a MacBook, a mic, headphones, and everything that I need. And I keep saying, I don't have enough time. I should. He's like, you should. My whole family keeps telling me, record more, post more. And, you've inspired me to do that.
Please do.
Thank you.
A lot of people will find more joy in that as well.
I hope so. Let's see.
I just want to hear what advice you have for somebody who feels like they want to be more than just one thing, maybe explore more than one interest, achieve more than one dream, explore more than one version of themselves. How do they stay grounded to who they are while still honoring all their callings?
So I always have this quote, and everybody thinks it's a cheesy joke. I say, I'm a lawyer, but when I grow up, I'm going to be a pop star. Right? And I still say it. I still say it 25 years in. I think that you can be everything, and you don't have to be everything perfectly all the time. Allow yourself to evolve, because when you talk about being authentic to yourself, that person also evolves. So it's about being authentic to yourself at the right time and do what you feel is right for you. Does that mean that you are selfish about it? Sometimes maybe, but we also have duties. So, everything in balance, and enjoy yourself, enjoy the process.
Very beautifully said, Sangeeta, as you've done throughout this entire interview. I have to say, I know that you had hesitations about, coming down and doing a podcast. It is your first, and I'm so honored that you chose to be here, because more than anything, I feel like I love doing this, and I love doing it with people like you, because at the end of the day, conversations, I feel like, inspires, it motivates, and at the minimum, it comforts. And I feel like I went through all those emotions with you.
Thank you. Like I said, I still don't think I've achieved anything terribly remarkable, but I've had so much fun.
And
thank you for having me.
And with that, I will catch you guys in another episode with a new cup of tea. This is Priya on Sit Still, Look Pretty, 'cause girl, you're more than a quick gaze.